Hello guys, welcome to my brain wreck. As y'all know, I have epilepsy myself. I've had 3 nocturnal seizures. So far I've been doing good. But we're going to talk about reflex epilepsy, but just a little bit, something about myself. I finally got a thing to do a VEEG study. It makes you video electrical, can never pronounce the word. We'll just call it a VEEG, which most of you guys know what that is. So I'll be going to a hospital on the EMT unit, epilepsy medical unit. So I don't know if they're doing 3 or 5 days, but the cool thing is that my wife gets to stay there with me every day if she chooses to do so. Well, she probably will because she's freaked out about it, which I understand. So it's very scary because consider my last two nocturnal seizures almost killed me. The last one I was on intubated, so wasn't coming to, didn't come to until the next day, and ended up in the hospital for about five or 6 days or something like that. Didn't know where the heck I was. I'm like, okay, well, what is this? I finally figured out it was a hospital, and I realized, oh, okay, I must have had a seizure afterwards, but don't remember much about that. Don't remember about anything about my seizures, to be honest. So we're going to talk about what is meant by reflex epilepsy. So as y'all know, I get my information from epilepsy.com. So as this is for information purposes only. This is not meant for medical advice or anything like that. If you guys want medical advice, talk to your medical advice team. As I always say, if you want to know something about something from criminal justice, you can talk to me about that if you want to right on here, because my background is in criminal justice. All right. So like I said, we're going to tell you what is it meant by reflex epilepsy. Well, reflex epilepsies are a group of epilepsy syndromes in which a certain trigger or stimulus brings on seizures. So like sound, the voice, sounds of bells from churches or anything like that. Number of things. So like here, the trigger can be something simple in the environment or something more complex. We just don't know what it can be. Who knows? Simple environmental triggers include sensations like touch, light, or movement. Maybe the sun, too bright, not bright enough, whatever, or just touch the person, they don't want to be touched or anything like that, can set them off possibly. Don't know why, not for sure. They're still doing research and stuff like that in epilepsy, but like I said, unfortunately, they don't put enough money into epilepsy to find out what's going on. As much as these other researchers they do on for like breast cancer, stroke, and things like that, which those are very important too, of course, but also as epilepsy. Anything needs research to find out what's going on. Complex triggers may include activities like reading, writing, doing arithmetic. Myself, I was really good at doing math and stuff until I throw in letters in there and stuff. Up to high school there or whatever. I don't have it, but like in the fourth grade, I had this little piece of paper, you put in this little cardboard thing or whatever in between or whatever, and you get 1 minute to do it. Where I usually finish mine within like 25 seconds. There are 60 questions on their math or division or multiply or subtracting, but I was very fast. And then at the end of the year, I received the school backpack. So that was from way back in the 80s. Okay, so you guys are curious how old I am. I'm 50, so you can see my beard here and stuff. But once I take this, I just don't need it trimmed or whatever. My mustache. My wife usually does that, or whatever. So then I look like a little kid. You probably see in some of my other pictures. But I also are even thinking about specific topics. Be part of reflex epilepsy. I had no idea why. Like I said, I'm not a medical doctor, but I have a criminal background and criminal justice background. So if you have a question about that, no problem. Other environmental triggers include sounds such as church bells, a certain type of music or song, person's voice. Even my voice could be affecting somebody right now. Hopefully not. So trigger warning: if my voice is affecting you, please don't watch this. Simple sound-induced seizures in humans are very rare. So seizures have been triggered in a few people by things like the patterns of a moving escalator step, toothbrushing, or taking a hot bath, or being rubbed. So maybe this is a sensation, maybe it's something in their brain that's getting crossed or whatever, and it bugs them. Maybe something with maybe they have something with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Maybe it's obsession or compulsive or something. You know, a compulsive are something that is you do it compulsively. Obsession, you just keep on doing, you have obsessed with it. So compulsive, you know, like go check, make sure that the lights off in the bathroom. Go like, okay, lights off in the bathroom. Then you go back again. So that's kind of like a compulsive thing. Seizures have also been triggered in a few people by things like the patterns of a moving escalator step, toothbrushing, taking a bath, or being rubbed, as I said. For some people, certain rates of blinking or even specific colors may provoke seizures, which I did not know that. So people who blink a certain way and stuff, you know, I don't know if it's to themselves or other people. Sensory triggers can bring seizures on within seconds. With more complex triggers, it might take minutes to bring on a seizure. But these people might recognize their seizures though, and they may have an aura about them where like they know something's going to happen. They're not sure when, but they do. They feel something. So if you are feeling something like that, make sure you get down in your safe spot. You know, stay away from sharp objects and things like that in your safe spot, soft spot, whatever. You guys that do have epilepsy or things like this or seizures, most people who know that they have seizures or whatever and have auras, you know, you guys know what to do. All right. So be safe and, you know, just be prepared for what's going to happen. Which a lot of you guys are like, yes, we know, or that what I'm just reminding you. So please be safe. Not myself, I never heard of this, of reflex epilepsy. So common types of reflex epilepsy include photosensitivity, which is a sensitivity to certain light frequencies, sunlight glittering on water, or television, etc. Eye closure sensitivity, that's interesting. Which is a sensitivity to eye closing that is usually repeated eyelid fluttering. So you guys know what eyelid fluttering is and stuff like that, and like kind of like that what I just did. Our oral facial reflex myoclonia, all right, which typically are muscle jerks around the mouth, tongue, or jaw brought on by reading or talking. So sometimes I wonder if I have that because when I start to talk and stuff, my words get jumbled up. I know what I want to say, but the letters get backwards and stuff, or I have trouble getting them out once in a while. But by the way, guys, if you hear me stutter once in a while, because I do have a stuttering problem when I was younger, sometime I went to a special needs class, you could say, to help with my lisp and other things or whatever. Other than that, I'm just a human being like you. Praxis induction. Now this I don't know what praxis induction is. I guess it says which are muscle jerks induced by visual motor tasks like playing chess, playing cards, writing, drawing, etc. All right, so that's very interesting. Praxis induction. Okay, now I've heard this and other things. Musicogenic epilepsy, which is a sensitivity to certain music. And some people, just in general, don't like music at all, or certain types of music, and it bugs them. Like, get that out of my head, it's bugging my ears, and so on, so forth. You know. Epilepsy with eyelid myoclonia, called Jovan syndrome, is a term often used to describe a photosensitive epilepsy, particularly in childhood. Those are mostly in childhood, it sounds like. Typical symptoms include gazing at the sun and while waving fingers in front of their face. And during this time, the child may stare with or without fluttering their eyes. So what are common seizure types? The types of seizures that may occur are varied, but 85% are generalized tonic-clonic, such as myself. I have had nocturnal seizures. And, generalized tonic-clonic, quote, grand mal seizures. Other seizures types include absent seizures, staring, and myoclonic seizures, jerking of the eyes and head or arms. Then there's the occasional focal seizures arising from a small portion of the brain. May also present reflex epilepsy. So, who gets it? Can it be inherited? Well, let's see. So, photosensitive epilepsy usually begins in childhood, as often, but not always, outgrown before adulthood. So, it sounds like it's outgrown before adulthood, but not all the time. So, it's possible that your child could outgrow this. But take in consideration, though, that seizures, yes, they're inherited. It could be a gene on the father or mother's side that they inherited, things happen. Unfortunately, that's just what happens. No, I know I just said the genes, it can be mutation or something like that. But on here it says, although no major gene has been identified for reflex epilepsy, it has been described in people with other epilepsy types like Dravet syndrome, which is usually caused by a sodium channel alteration. So, and I think that's not if you're not getting enough sodium. I can't remember exactly. However, it may also occur with chromosomal, especially in chromosomes 4 and 10. Don't ask me for chromosome 4 and 10. Like I said, this is for information only. So ask your doctors what that means. And other genetic disorders, including mutations in the LG, I1, and MECP2. So for your doctors out there, please forgive me if I didn't pronounce it right or anything like that. Like I said, I'm just doing this to pass this on to people with epilepsy or syndromes, epilepsy syndromes, and just seizure disorders in general. Because epilepsy and seizures are two different things, believe it or not. But yes, there are seizures associated with epilepsy. So, but they are two different things. Because you can just have a seizure disorder and not epilepsy at all. So, people who have reflex epilepsies generally are developmentally normal and have normal findings on neurological immunization. However, if due to a genetic mutation, cognitive problems are common. So there can be cognitive problems possibly. We don't know how it is or what happens. So how is it diagnosed? Well, diagnosis is made after a careful history and examination. An EEG most frequently is likely to show normal background with generalized or focal abnormal activity. Polyspikes and spikes often activated with intermittent light flashes, which I've had those done where they take little light flashes and things like that, and they can see stuff in your eyes and stuff like that. Just like if you go optometrists or ophthalmologists and stuff, when they, when they're looking at your, they can see stuff in your eyes, your eyes and stuff. When they look at it, they can tell it, just like your teeth and stuff. Like my teeth aren't that great. A dentist and even your PCP can tell you, take care of your mouth. This needs to be taken. They can see there, they know this does affect what you do and how you live your life. Your eyes, nose, mouth, teeth. Your senses, right? Your hearing, your touch, your feel, and so forth. With intermittent light flashes, an MRI, which is a magnetic resonance imaging, may be required in some cases so they can see more. Advanced imaging like functional MRI might be performed on a research basis. So, how is it treated? The best method, where possible, is to avoid the stimulus that triggers seizures. So, unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of triggers around you, possibly more than likely. You got your environment outside, your environment inside, you got environment in your stores, restaurants, and wherever you go. Environment of the earth. There's going to be. So the best thing you can do is just try to minimize those things the best you can. Obviously, I guess is what you could do possibly. Like I said, it can be difficult to avoid flashing lights, since even driving past a line of trees with the sun filtering through can produce the same effect as a strobe light. If flashing lights cannot be avoided, it may be helpful to cover one eye until a flash ends over. So, of course, the one question is, well, what if there's a fire truck, police truck, ambulance behind you and flashing their lights and those strobe lights going at you like that? Is it going to affect you? And you're a driver? Possibly, unfortunately. So it's a scary thing, but are they going to get rid of those? I doubt that. There has been great interest in the safety of video games for children or adults with epilepsy. Certain video games, television shows, and movies can provoke seizures. You see video games and stuff like that. Obviously, they like Grand Theft Auto, you see flashing lights and things like that, or shooting games, things like that. It's pretty crazy. Sleep deprivation and stress or excitement caused by playing the games for a long time may also provoke seizures. So you want to make sure you get enough sleep, and you want to make sure you manage your stress the best way you can. Important way is to avoid these triggers. So you want to avoid those triggers as much as possible, but you want to minimize things. Set yourself a time for, yes, if you like to play games like that. I know some of you guys are still going to do this or whatever, but but see if it helps you or not. And yes, I understand there's anti-seizure meds, anticonvulsants, and all that stuff. I'm on medicines too, so I'm also a type 2 diabetic, and apparently I have a second-degree heart block, and I have polycythemia, and I have a hyperthyroidism, and I'm 50. What do you expect, right? So whatever your parents tell you, you're getting another baby someday. So possibly, but you want to minimize that and do the best you can, and also probably changing diet stuff for those that need help with it or whatever. If you need help with a dietitian or whatever, the doctors offer stuff a lot, especially like me, some type 2 diabetic. So I myself really didn't even have my sugar, which I'm not very good at it, but I need to work at that. So seizures that are triggered by the flashing lights and changing patterns of video games occur during the game. Seizures that occur later after the person has finished playing are not caused by the game. So those are later. So if you're playing a game or something, seizures can occur while you're playing the game. But that they occur later after the person has finished playing the game are not caused by the game. So probably because you already haven't done anything or nothing has happened right now. So most people with reflex epilepsies also require medication, as I mentioned, because their seizures are unavailable in everyday life, or they also experience seizures without detectable causes. And that's a common in a lot of things, when you're going to have an EEG, doctors aren't always going to catch that seizures or anything like that, or anything on your brain or stuff like that. They might see a spike, like they say, doctors are trained. Mostly it'd probably be a neurologist will look at your EEG, maybe your PCP2 to see, they're trained to look at brain waves and stuff like that, but mostly a neurologist, like, hey, they caught something on the left side here. This is my left side, my right side, opposite of you or whatever. So they might catch something. And that's the idea when you're going for these studies, to the EEGs and stuff. They want to catch something. They want to, I know it's scary. They want to provoke seizures, which I can understand why that's scary for my wife. As I say, it's going to be scary for your loved ones. It's traumatic for them, especially if they already dealt with it before or stuff. But the idea is for them to catch it, to see what is causing it, and then maybe they can eliminate some certain things. And sometimes people get what's called the RNS or the VNS. You guys, I've done a couple other videos about that. And the scary part, some even had part of their brain resection or part of it taken out, because they notice that's something's causing it right up in there or whatever. So your brain is the most powerful computer in the world. It's more powerful than whatever they have today. Your brain is the computer. They say you only use so much of your brain, which is true. You only use so much of your brain. Can you imagine if you tap into all the powers of your brain and how to use it? Look at all these people that have very high IQs, and it's just amazing what they can do. These kids that are graduating college at 10 and 12 and 13 years old. It's crazy. So as I said, most people with reflex epilepsies also require medication because their seizure triggers unavoidable in everyday life, or they also experience seizures without detectable causes. So like I said, that's very common. Sometimes people will get frustrated because they didn't detect anything or stuff like that, because they're like, oh, what the heck is it? What is causing my seizures? And unfortunately, they just don't know, believe it or not. They don't know exactly what's causing it. They might know something what could be causing it, possibly. I mean, if they see like a small spike or a poly spike and so forth. So what are the medications they take? Valproate or Depakote is effective for reflex epilepsies. Other successful medications are clonazepam or Klonopin, clobazam, Onfi, lamotrigine, Menthol, or phenobarbital. I'm sure we all have heard of that before. So what's the outlook? So in many cases, seizures and reflex epilepsy are well controlled with low doses of medication. Some people do outgrow their seizures, but a decrease in the chance for seizures may not happen for many years. Sorry guys, I got to pause the video because I was coughing there. 75% of people with photosensitive reflex epilepsy continue to have seizures after the age 25 if not treated. So it's probably good to get it treated, Now, some people probably don't want to get it treated because they don't want all these medicine stuff, and they hear different things about this and what the heck is going on with this, Anyways, this has been my brain wreck, so hopefully you learned something from this about reflex epilepsy and stuff. Maybe it's something that sounds familiar to you or something that's new to you. And like I said, this is for information purposes only. Okay, so if you're curious about what's going on and if you have questions, ask your doctor, your neurologist, your medical team if you have one. You know, you just want to make sure, keep yourself safe and keep yourself updated. Also, I know I said this in other videos too. Keep a record of yourself or a loved one, whoever has this, what happened, what time, what day, what year. So make yourself like a little medical file and put it into like a folder and stuff. So that way you have something that can be tracked, you know. And also when you go to your doctor's appointment and stuff, the thing that you wrote down or whatever, give them a copy, you know, to their technician or whoever, or their assistant, you know, or even the people at the front desk. Ask them if they can put this into your medical file. And pretty much they will do that for you. All right, and give that to your doctor or your neurologist, you know. Actually will help them out, you know. Maybe they'll see a pattern, something that what you wrote down or what time, or also write down maybe what you had for the day, what you ate, you know, what you did for your activities that day. Also, you know, keep a record for yourself. That way you're leaving a trail for what's going on out there for people to see. Okay, for your doctors and so forth. Like I said, you know, I'm not a medical person. My background's in criminal justice, so, but like I said, I do this channel because of my epilepsy, you know, my nocturnal seizures and stuff, and I'm, like I said, hopefully, maybe they'll find something when I go in for the study sometime next month. So I don't know if there's a 3-day or a 5-day, but we'll find out. But so all I'll be doing is giving myself a little, well, sponge baths, I guess. So, and which I thought was pretty cool is that, like I said, my wife gets to come with me, so that's very nice, and that probably makes her feel a little bit more comfortable because, like I said, it's very traumatic for her and me too to a certain point. But me, am I scared? Not really. I'm not really scared because, you know, I'm Christian faith based, and you know, I'm good with God upstairs there, so that's why I always wear this and I always talk about Him. I know, so if you guys are, great. If not, that's okay. That's not my place to judge. So like I said, keep yourself a track record. Write it down, you know, write it on your phone or whatever, journal on your phone or download an app. That way you have something for yourself, something for the doctor. That way you keep a track of what's going on. So that's what I do. I keep a track of myself, you know, of my doctor's appointments, or I write down what's happened for the day or the morning, what's going on. That way, if I can see a pattern, what's going on, you know, my wife will tell me too, so I'll write down, scratch man, how many times I wake up, whatever, you know, was I doing something funny or making weird noises in my sleep, you know. Sometimes people with epilepsy and stuff, and certain types of epilepsy, they'll make noises and stuff, and it's all kinds of stuff. And the next one we'll talk about, this one's kind of a fun, it's an interesting one, but we'll see. I don't know how much information I got. It's called parasomnia, and we'll get to that in the next video. So thank you for watching my brain wreck. And one more time, keep a medical record. Write down in a journal yourself what happened that day. What, you know, write down your seizure stuff. What happened? What did you do that day? If you can remember, yeah. Write down what you did for the day, or had for practice, or for lunch or dinner. If you can remember, if you haven't had a seizure or anything, I understand that. So do the best you can and keep a track for yourself, and also, you know, make a copy. Keep a copy for yourself, and keep a copy for your doctor or whatever, and hand that over every time and have them put into your medical file. That way, like I said, it can show a pattern possibly. So thanks for watching my brain wreck. If you like my channel, like, subscribe, and press that bell button for all notifications. You guys have a great night and be safe and be strong, my purple warriors and the seizure warriors and all the warriors out there.